Hey guys, welcome back to the New Tennis Era podcast. My name's Anthony Hirsch. Today I'm going to be previewing the quarterfinals of the Western-Southern Open in Cincinnati, the Masters 1000 event that is going on right now. I'm going to be previewing 3 quarterfinals. The reason I'm not going to be previewing the 4th is because Shelton has not played his match yet due to a rain delay. He's going to be playing his match tomorrow against Lehechka, which I honestly think could be a dangerous match because Yuri Lehechka is playing well. So I'm not going to be previewing that one, but instead I will be previewing Jannik Sinner against FAA, Felix Auger-Aliassime, Atmane against Rune, and also Alcaraz against Rublev, giving my predictions, but more so giving insights on what to expect, previewing those quarterfinals. Also a slight brief analysis of Fritz versus Atmane in general, because that was a big upset and a pretty interesting match, honestly. Brief analysis of that one, and then also my weekly ATP power rankings. So before I get into it, don't forget to subscribe, Quality Shot Tennis, if you have not already, and don't forget to like the video as well. Getting into it, Sinner against Felix Auger-Aliassime. Well, the people looking into what their head-to-head is before the match tomorrow, I think almost everybody will be surprised to see that FA is amazingly 2-0 against Sinner in their head-to-head, also beating him from a set down in Cincinnati 3 years ago, which is also, I would say, important to note, because I think matchups are a really important thing in tennis, and also I think the conditions, court conditions, and the specific event also which you're playing at is an important history to look at and see how a player has done in the past. And Felix has actually done extremely well at this tournament in the past. It's the only big event where he's made 2 quarterfinals before, and this is now his 3rd quarterfinal in Cincinnati. Now, the obvious thing is that Sinner has won his last 24 hardcourt matches, is clearly the best player in the world, especially on this surface, and Felix hasn't been in his best form. He lost to Marajan in the first round in Toronto. Marajan can be dangerous, but it shows that Felix is not even close to the level or consistency that Sinner is at. But Felix won his first 3 matches here, all in straight sets. He beat Rinderknecht, he beat Benjamin Bonzi, who has been in form, beat Medvedev at Wimbledon, beat Tsitsipas in Musetti here. 2 players are out of form, but still impressive back-to-back. And it was impressive. He lost just 4 points on first serve against Bonzi. He was dictating, hitting all the winners in the match. And like I said, he just likes, I think Felix likes the quicker hardcourts here. I will also say, in terms of Felix's chances here, if he feels like he can have any kind of chances here, is that the last two matches that Sinner played, I don't think he played his best tennis at all, to be frank. And I'll get into some of those things that Sinner's doing well and some of the things he's not doing as well. And I think Felix has a sort of habit of showing up for the big matches, even if he doesn't pull out the win. He has a habit of finding his best level for the big matches. Now, before I get into more arguments as to why maybe Felix can do well here, I will say Sinner is the big favorite. Absolutely. There's no doubt about it, and I will be picking Sinner to win in 3 sets. But I will say Felix takes the set, and here's part of the reason that I say that Sinner is going to lose a set to Felix. Is that once again, I think Felix does really well in these courts, as I mentioned. And the other thing is I want to talk about Sinner's level in his last couple of matches. Felix played well against a dangerous player, but Sinner just making 52% first serves in. He hit more errors than winners against Manarino. And to my eyes, I think Sinner in general in his first couple matches, he can improve as the event goes on. He's been incredibly consistent, especially on the surface. He often has a habit of playing better as the event keeps going. But it's to the point where Sinner feels like he has to go on to the practice court to improve a few things. In his first match, he was not serving very well at all. And in his last match against Manarino, I feel like he's been struggling a little bit more on defense and getting used to these Cincy courts, which I think has been a thing for a few different players, and getting used to the kind of quick conditions. but he's not really having the normal kind of deep, effective shots on his defense. And he was able to convert a break at 5-5 on like his 5th break point against Mannarino, but then Mannarino broke right back to force a tiebreaker in the second set. It just feels like Sinner isn't playing quite his best, which is a very high standard. He's still playing amazing tennis. And Sinner will not miss on easy balls like Bondi was doing a lot of against Felix. But I will say Sinner is going to want to put an overall better serving day together because he played tiebreakers in both of his first 2 matches. And against Diallo, it was extended. He had to save off a set point. And he likely is going to against Felix too. But mentally, Sinner is much stronger. And 100% of the rallies where Sinner and Felix are going backhand to backhand, Sinner is going to win those rallies. Felix is not going to be able to dictate the court with his forehand against Sinner. Sinner dictates against everybody on tour. And I just feel like even if Felix has his best serve day, he mentally stays solid, he takes his chances, he just absolutely goes for it with his forehand, trying to push Sinner to defend. And if he attacks the short balls, I still feel like Felix might not have enough. And so that's the problem, is that even if everything goes right for Felix, I still don't know for a fact he has enough. So I'm going to say Felix takes a set off of Sinner, also looking at their head-to-head. Also that I don't feel like Sinner played his best level in his first 2 matches, but I have to say that I think Jannik wins in 3 sets. But I will say I think it could be an interesting match, and I don't know if Sinner is going to roll over Felix. But we'll see, because Felix sometimes can put together a pretty poor performance as well, to be honest. So we'll just see which version of Felix shows up. But I do have Sinner getting through. He is a massive favorite in that one. Sort of giving the devil's advocate arguments for Felix there as to why I think he could even pull something together. But I'll have Sinner in 3. Atmane against Rune. Atmane having the big win over Fritz. I feel like Atmane was playing right out of Medvedev's playbook. He was way behind the baseline, not just returning Fritz's huge serve, but also in the rallies. But then it was really interesting because that was just the way Atmane was building out the points. At sudden times in rallies, he would just sprint forward like a rabbit or take a few big leaps forward and just suddenly just absolutely annihilate a ball, often for winners. He was playing pretty well here, and he would just hit suddenly a huge pace of shot, really off of both wings, but particularly off his forehand. But it was really interesting to see Atmane playing this very unique, it seemed like, kind of strategy. He was also finding a pretty impressive, I felt like, redirection of Fritz's shots, good width, and hitting really hugely paced offensive shots, like playing a really impressive, aggressive game, also doing pretty well at the net. And Atmane's shots really heavy with big topspin that I feel like was hurting Fritz, who I've never really loved him in Cincinnati. I'm kind of surprised that he made the quarterfinals here the last 2 years. I don't think this is going to end up being a successful event for Fritz. I've kind of felt that way for a while. And I just don't think he likes the super quick conditions that Cincy plays at. And I don't think these are Rune's favorite conditions either, who Atmane has in his next round. But Rune's actually playing pretty well, I think. And he had a good win against Alex Michelsen, who's in good form. To beat him in straight sets is pretty impressive. And I think he can really take advantage of Atmane, who's obviously a great draw, and particularly by ranking. And I think Atmane, honestly, he's not used to this at all. I think he's going to be celebrating the win, not just beating Fritz, which is easily the best win of his career, but also getting to a Masters quarterfinal. He has a big turnaround. He's not used to playing so many high tension, high stakes matches back to back. He's going to want to keep that intensity up, and Rune will feel motivated knowing this can turn around the latter part of his season, and he needs it 100%. And I will say, in terms of the things that Fritz was doing, I feel like Rune can take advantage of Atmane more, kind of cutting Atmane's chances to go big from the way back in the court a little bit more. He can come to net. He can hit drop shots. I feel like Rune also, watching a little bit of his match against Tiafoe, I think is doing actually pretty well off the forehand, hitting some big, pretty heavy forehands, even though Tiafoe unfortunately had to retire in that round 16 match with a lower back problem, which was affecting his serve. I think Rune is showing a pretty good level, and I think he can do a little bit better early in rallies, especially in return points, to go big and push Atmane even really further out of position, stopping his kind of quick sprints and leaps moving forward. So that's part of what I would say about that. Fritz, honestly, in the third set, Atmane was doing well to put himself in good positions, but he had a double fault and a loose, pretty early forehand in the rally that gave the 3-2 breakaway to Atmane. So even though Atmane put himself in good positions and was testing Fritz, I feel like Fritz also lost that match a little bit. So if Rune doesn't do that, I think he can get through this. So I'm taking Rune in 2 sets. I think Atmane was impressive against Fritz, but I think Rune is gonna be very much looking at this as an opportunity to make a master semi on outdoor hard courts, which I think he's gonna take. And I think it's disappointing that Fritz lost, especially after Shelton did so well in Canada. He probably would have wanted to show what he was made of right before defending the title, before defending his final run in U.S. Open. Title, I wish. American men aren't doing that well, but final in U.S. Open last year. So a lot of points on the line for Fritz, obviously. So we'll see how he does at the U.S. Open. I don't think it's the greatest lead up. It's not the worst either, seeing how Fritz did on the grass, especially, but it's still not looking that great for Taylor coming in. And in terms of Atmane playing Rune, I'll take Rune in straight sets. 2 sets for Rune at the end of the day. Rublev against Carlos Alcaraz. It is 3-1 for Alcaraz. Alcaraz taking out Luca Nardi and Rublev taking out Komasana. Rublev is actually playing really well, I think. And Alcaraz is playing pretty well. I think he's doing better match by match. I'm saying pretty well. He won the first 13 out of 14 points that he played against Nardi, which is insane. And he did incredibly well on his first serve in general, serving well. And he said he's feeling confident playing and moving out there and feeling better day by day, which I think is important. I still don't think he's playing his best tennis at all, but I think that he's playing better and better, which is a good sign. But to talk about their head-to-head and their history, it's 3-1 for Alcaraz. They really haven't played that many times, and this is their first time they'll play on outdoor hard courts. And I really think Rublev's chances should be considered. Like, they're very legitimate. I was actually considering picking Rublev here, which kind of gives away that I chose Alcaraz at the end of the day. I chose Carlos in 3 sets to get the win. But let me talk about both of their chances. Rublev beat Carlos in Madrid, and it was a precarious time for Carlos. He was struggling physically, also with his game. That was the time when he lost to Jari in Buenos Aires and was losing to a lot of players wasn't usually losing to, right before his channel slam that came out of nowhere. But that match in Madrid is the only match he's technically lost there since 2021. And he just plays insane in Madrid. I was really impressed by Rublev, able to beat Carlos there and then get the win at the end of the day at getting that title. I also think Rublev played pretty well against him in Wimbledon. Even at ATP Finals last year, there's like a 10-8 tiebreaker they played, and Rublev played pretty well. I think grass is different from outdoor hard courts. Alcaraz was able to get him in 4 in Wimbledon, but I think I would definitely prefer Rublev on hard courts in general versus on grass, and I'd pick Carlos on grass over on hard courts, even though I think he's good on both. And good is an understatement there, but I think that's important to mention as well. I think here I would give Rublev higher chances than at Wimbledon, also being 2 out of 3 sets, so you never know. In that match at Wimbledon, Carlos served his butt off. He played an amazing level for the last 3 sets of that match, just all together, and like I said, serving really well. Andre generally has a really good record in Cincinnati. He beat Medvedev in 2021, made the final, made the quarters last year, lost to Sinner in a close 3-set match. In 2022, he lost to Fritz. He's losing to good players at Cincinnati and has a generally really good win percentage here. And against Komasana, he was playing extremely well, hitting really well. I don't think Komasana, his game is built for the surface at all. So I think it was a good draw for Rublev, and it's going to be tougher against Alcaraz. Going with Alcaraz in 3, like I said, I almost went with Rublev. It was really Alcaraz's, actually what he said after the match, because for some reason I look at what players say, and I think that it's something that is actually something to look into to predict matches. But he said he's feeling confident in how he's playing, he's moving, and how he's moving, and he's saying he's playing better match by match, which I think is a good sign because he's really far from his best, but the fact that he's staying positive about where he's at, I think is a good sign. And really the last time Alcaraz didn't make a final of a tournament was Miami, so it'd be a big call not to choose him. I went with Rublev at first, I'm not going to lie, but then I switched it to Carlos, especially after seeing Alcaraz speak positively about his game. So Alcaraz still confident. I'm going with Carlos in 3, but Rublev is serving well, playing well. Every now and again, it seems like every year Rublev has a fantastic run at a Masters tournament at some point during the year out of nowhere. So maybe it's going to come here. We'll see. But I'm going to choose Alcaraz in 3 sets at the end of the day. And then the other quarterfinal, just no way of knowing. Zverev beat Korean Khachanov. Khachanov having to retire at the end of the day. Like I said earlier, it's a big turnaround from Canada. So that's brutal, really, on Khachanov, but still a good win for Zverev, I guess. And he'll have to play Lehechka or Shelton. And Lehechka and Shelton are both players that I mention in my power rankings. They're both in form, so I can't really choose. I can't really just act like Shelton's going to win that and predict it, because I really think Lehechka has a chance. So I'll pick Shelton to win that round of 16, but I do think Lehechka has a chance. So we'll see who wins between that one. Going into the weekly ATP power rankings, I have number 1 Jannik Sinner, number 3 Alcaraz, number 2 Alcaraz, number 3 Djokovic, same top 3. Shelton moves into the 4th spot because he won in Canada. He's playing an incredible level, and he deserves that spot, no doubt about it. I didn't really want to put him into that top 3 because those are top 3 that have been consistently getting to semis of slams this year and have put together a really solid year in that respect. But Shelton can definitely move up after Cincinnati or after the US Open if he puts together another good run. But anyway, he was on my power rankings anyway because I still think he has so much to improve, which is only exciting. He's been consistently one of the best players in the world. I think he's easily one of the most likely players to really push or beat Sinner or Alcaraz. Even in best of 5, he can beat Sinner and Alcaraz. So I think that's something to mention. Number 5, I got Alexander Zverev, getting to the semis in Canada this week, playing well as well. Like I said, just beating Khachanov, who is my number 6 player. Like I said, a tough turnaround from Canada, but a loss to Zverev in a hardcourt Masters is not shameful. He was playing extremely well in Canada, like so well, and beating Zverev in a 3rd set tiebreaker is very, very impressive. The way he was playing in that final and really throughout the whole event, constant depth on his shots. He's a really tough player to play against, so I want to give him his credit. And then number 7, I go with Taylor Fritz. He dropped down, even though he dropped down because of his loss to Terence Atmane, but I think he deserves to stay pretty high. He did win two grass tournaments. He got to the semis of Wimbledon. He lost to Shelton in Canada. He beat Rublev, so semis there as well. And he's playing pretty well for the most part generally, but he's definitely going to want to raise his level from from Cincinnati to the US Open when he is looking to defend his final there. Number 8, Alexander Bublik. We haven't seen him play for a minute, but he still should be high up in these power rankings because when he returns, he's shown one of the highest levels recently, winning a lot of titles, beating Sinner, beating Draper. So he deserves to be there on a few different surfaces as well. Number 9, I have Rublev climbing back into the power rankings. Round of 16 at Wimbledon, took a set off Alcaraz. 2 consecutive Masters quarterfinals, and generally the level that he's playing. He beat Popyrin, who's playing well, 7-5 in the third, beat Lerner Tien in straight sets. Tien's playing well. So I decided to put him in there as well. Number 10 is Alex de Minaur, lost in straight sets to Opelka this week. That's the reason that he went down, but he still, I think, is good, has shown a good enough level that I want him to stay in the top 10 for now. Players to watch, I go with Terence Atmane. I think Atmane deserves the shout, just mostly because of the week that he's put together, beating Kaboli, beating Fritz, even Fonseca. Outside of this week, he really hasn't had great form, but I feel like he just isn't, he instantly needs to be in at least the players to watch because of the wins he's had this week. Alexei Popyrin is in here as well. He probably would have been the top 10 in the power rankings between Canada and Cincy. But yeah, he drops down because of his loss this week, but not too shameful of a loss anyway, like I said, to Rublev. And then Yuri Lehechka in there as well, who's consistently been very close recently in matches. I kind of have a bad feeling that maybe similar to Beradik, he might kind of be that kind of a player that is getting constantly close, but not quite getting the cigar at the end of the day. Like, I don't know if that's not going to be more or less the story of his career. We'll see if he proves me wrong with that, but I think he's a player that's very tough, but he just might not be quite on the level of Sinner, Alcaraz, or the next guys that really get to that level. Djokovic at the moment, obviously, but whoever the young guys are that climb there, whether it's, Menzik, Draper, whoever it is, Artur Fils, Fonseca, whoever is that next guy, Rune, whoever it is, I don't know if Lehechka will quite be up to their standards. But in Washington, loses to de Minaur, close 3-set match. In Toronto, loses to Fritz, 7-6 in the third, plays incredible. And yeah, playing well in Cincinnati this week as well, so he deserves a shout out. That's my weekly HB power rankings, and yeah, that'll do it for the podcast. I do want to say I will be going to Winston-Salem, which is very exciting, to do 3 days of the Winston-Salem Open. So watch out for content on this channel. You get notified when we go live on Quality Shot Tennis, but make sure to ring that notification bell so that you get notified when the videos come out, because there will hopefully be some interviews coming out with professional players. Tsitsipas is at the tournament, and a lot of other good players as well. So definitely look out for that. Sebastian Corda also there, among others. So definitely watch out for that content coming soon. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the previews. We'll see what I got right or wrong. And yeah, thank you guys for joining in. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe. And I will see you guys at the next one.